Hey there, listeners, and welcome to season 2 of Project Zero. The goal is the same as last year. We're going to still hear the journeys of some of the best project leaders in the game, but this season, we're going to lean in a little bit more on AI and how it's having an impact on the industry. My name is Alex Tuck, and I am the host. I'm here with my good friend and healthcare management consultant from Freed Associates, Vidura Stich. Welcome to the podcast, Vidura. I can't wait to hear about your Project Zero.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to talk with you.
Yeah, cool. Start us off, Vidura. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do.
Sure. So I am a management consultant, focused primarily in the healthcare space, though I have had the opportunity to play in some other sandboxes, which is always fun. But my focus is really in the healthcare space when it comes to consulting. And so the work that I do mostly is big project implementations. When a customer or a client needs to put something big together, it's usually those kind of projects that are really 10 projects or 20 projects that all need to work together to achieve that implementation goal. So I get to do a lot of that. And I've been doing that specifically for about 11 years. Before that, just cutting my teeth on a lot of different project management things and learning about the project management space, and then led to where I am now, working with Freed Associates and supporting some big clients and having a lot of fun doing it.
Sweet. That's awesome. Great. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
All right. Let's take it back all the way to the beginning when you first started thinking about project management. How did you decide to go into project management?
So I like to say that I didn't decide to do it. It found me, literally. So my first career boss and mentor, I came in one day to the office and I was doing kind of project work, but I didn't know it was called project management, right?
Yeah.
I come into the office and there is a book, probably about 2 inches thick, huge book, How to Run Projects in Microsoft Project. This is year 2000, 2001, Alex, right? So it was just this big book. And I was like, what is this? So I took it home and I leafed through it and I went, oh, a little bit of a light bulb went off. Oh, some structure, some methodology. And it totally appealed to me. And I just started using it. And the career just went that direction.
Interesting. So when you were a kid, were you naturally organized? I talked to project managers that were totally organized, and then others that were disorganized, and project management was comforting for them.
That's a great question. I'm going to go with the no.
Okay, fair.
Right. I don't think I was, as a kid, naturally drawn to that, though I do really like structure. I found that out in my life. But as a kid, no, I wouldn't say that you would have looked at me and gone, oh, this guy's really organized and is going to be a project manager. Probably not.
Yeah. Interesting. So when your boss handed you that book, right, what were you doing before that? What did you study?
I had one of those college experiences where you go do something, and I had a blast in college. So I initially learned, it was basically just a business management type of a degree with a minor in Japanese studies. And so I thought I was going to go to Japan and do some cool stuff like that. Didn't really happen that direction. And so everything I learned in college didn't really apply to what happened with my career, right? I got this entry-level job. Honestly, wasn't even thinking about staying there. I was going to go back to school, right?
Okay.
And it just took shape. And I was just I had this great boss and great mentor, and he was giving me stuff to do, and I was picking it up and learning on my own and creating things for him that needed to be created to do the work that was happening. It was very basic. I don't know what you would call it. It was early stage, programming type work.
Okay.
But I think he saw something that I wouldn't have been able to see. I was very young, 22 years old. I think he saw something that I was able to do stuff. And I think that's why he handed me this Go Learn How to Be a Project Manager book. And then I was able to take that and really grow with him. And we were able to grow this actually huge part of the business and turn it into a $5 million a year revenue stream for the company, just because I was able to organize it and start being able to implement, because it was this really small R&D company, right? They were just, it was a bunch of hippies wearing flip-flops at the office, right? It was an awesome place to work, but they didn't know how to organize. And so I was able to help them do that, which really just triggered something for me, right? About, oh, I like this, and I'm pretty good at it. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that story is, I have similar experience where I was not very organized. I still am not a very organized person, outside of I don't want to say I am organized, but I don't gravitate towards that. I don't need a lot of structure. My partner, actually, she does everything to organize our household. But I love it from a professional perspective. Like I just
Oh yeah.
love like
Hmm.
looking at people's challenges and like putting things in order. And
Absolutely.
it's the liberal, like I got a business degree and an econ degree, right? And
Mhm.
minor. And I swear it's like the lib arts side of things, right? Like your Japanese studies,
Mhm.
that played a role. Just like thinking your brain thinking a different way
Yeah,
helps
yeah,
out so
yeah.
much when you
Yeah.
actually get out there and do this very structured kind of work too. So
Yeah, and learning the people side of it, right? That's a
yeah,
big part that's perhaps intangible at times, or hard to share that with people if you're thinking about project management. There's
yeah.
also this big part of it that's all about the people, right?
Yeah, for sure. I tell a lot of folks, like, you can't train the people part of it. It's
Mm.
really hard. You have to have some innate skill on the people side. You
Yeah.
can teach the project management skills, or you can teach a type of like person engagement skill, but you can't teach like the whole people side at all.
I think there's like to me, my experience, right? There's a narrow band. Some of the clients I've worked with, they jokingly refer to it as like a core project manager,
That's
right?
it.
So that's,
Yeah,
give me that schedule, give me that budget, give me that timeline and resource plan. And that's great because it's such a huge part of the success of any project.
sure.
But there's some people that are just like so good at that, but they're just not naturally good at the other part. And
Yeah,
so I think there's also a project manager type who is I don't even know the right word. It's just a wider angle lens. And I
yeah,
think that lends itself to being able to do those really big implementations because those are
yeah,
really complex. And the people part of those is just incredibly challenging. Can also be really rewarding. But like I
yeah,
would say half of what I do, if not more, is not that core structured thing. It's
yeah.
important and I do it, but 60% or more is just the people and making all that work.
Yeah, I love having a big enough project where you can have like a master scheduler, like that type of person that you're
Hmm.
describing, where
Yes, yes,
they're
yes,
just
yes.
like they can just pull any lever they want to when
Mhm.
it comes to a project schedule.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit and let's
Hmm.
talk about your Project Zero. So for
Mm.
all the guests who didn't listen to season one, Project Zero is that first project where like something really clicked for you as a project manager. And it's different. Project Zero is different for different people, but
Mhm.
the core concept is that you figured out either through success or failure, how to be a project manager to do those skills that you were just describing, Vidura, where it's
Mm.
like looking at the bigger picture. So yeah, tell us
Yeah.
what your Project Zero was.
Yeah. Project Zero. I won't, of course, disclose any client names or anything. There was a really big effort at this company, this healthcare company, and they basically had to divest an entire section of the company or sort of a geographical region, if you will. So it had timelines, it had regulatory dates, like it had drop deads, right? Like Department of Insurance and those kind of things. Like it had to be done by a certain date. So that was really exciting. I got a phone call and they're like, hey, do you want to come help with this? Now, initially, I was only going to help us like a small part of it, one big silo of work, which I signed on to immediately, super, super excited to do it. It quickly expanded in scope and I was able to help them identify that, hey, this is a little bit bigger just to manage it than you guys are thinking. And so we put all that together. And why I call it my Project Zero is really two things, right? So one was perhaps you could call it a failure and or a big learning moment. Up until then, I had only done projects of, not to discount them,
Yeah.
but they were not nearly of the magnitude of this one, like
Yep.
factors of 10, just big difference. So I was doing things that I knew how to do and to be very comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned that was not enough. Some things happened. We like pulled this session together. We all flew into Denver doing this whole thing. And I thought it was going pretty well. Got a phone call after day one in Denver. Hey, some people have reached out. A couple of things aren't maybe lining up the way they were thinking. So I had thankfully a great boss and mentor. And she was like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm hearing. Boom, boom. That was a big awakening for me to be like, oh, this is just way bigger and I'm going to need to learn and absorb. The second part of it was a few months after that, some things had taken shape and I had grown and been mentored in doing what I do very well. I had done that, but I was growing and learning in a lot of spaces. So then they came to me and said, hey, we think you can do this all. We want to hand this to you because we need to go. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Leaders got to go all these other places.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So they had dove in to help put me in the right space. Right. And then they were like, we think you can do this. Do you want to handle all this? And I remember we were sitting in a restaurant and I remember being like, wow, like I hear what you're saying. It all cycled through my brain. This is like an $80 million project. It has specific timelines. It's all the senior executives of the company, right? That was my direct line. There was like, everything was big about it.
Yep.
And I just looked across the room and I said, I'm starting to talk. And I remember the guy, Chris, said, let me just pause there. He goes, I know you can do it. I know you're worried right now, but I know you can do it. And I just said, okay, let's do this. That led to the full year because we had about a year at that point to get it all done. And we were able to bring in resources and do all the things that you love to do in a project, right? You identify needs, you fill those needs, you get them done. So we created this nice big structure and we had different people helping us. And I was able to really sit on top as the project manager lead, right?
Yep.
And lo and behold, we got it done early and we got it done under budget. And here's why I want to say that that was the real big learning for me is that you've probably heard about watermelon projects, right? So green on the outside, red on the inside, right? This particular company is really good at watermelon projects. So I asked one of the senior leaders, what is your biggest fear? I went to interview them. I flew to their offices. I was like, I need to get intel on what's going to keep them up at night. And one of these senior leaders said, my biggest worry is that people aren't going to tell us the truth. And red is your friend. Red is your friend. So I took that in, right? And I just made sure that everything was really transparent all the time, right? And I think because of that, and anytime I went to ask for something that we needed, they gave it to me.
That's awesome.
So that concept of resourcing up early versus resourcing too late when you're freaking out in a project, right? So all that stuff got to happen. We got to add the right resources. We got to do everything. And look what happened. Early, under budget.
That's awesome.
I keep trying to share that example with people as I go into new big projects like that to say, look, if you do it right up front, you have a much higher chance of success. No guarantees, but just a much higher chance. And so that was my Project Zero because it completely changed the whole way I thought about things. And I've just been able to go down a certain path because of that since that, right? Since and because.
Yeah, I love that. You need a type of company culture that allows for that too, right? And I've heard these stories before and experienced them every once in a while. The biggest thing is when there isn't the right company culture, you can't have those conversations that you got to have with those leaders and say, hey, look, I'm going to show you red, right? And we need to fix these things. That's the only way that we're going to be successful with this. So that's great. And
that's right.
It sounds like you had an awesome mentor.
Great mentor.
Yeah. And so were you getting mentorship? We all have great mentors, right? That teach us different things. I actually learned that no single mentor is going to solve there's no single mentor that's exactly who you want to be when you grow up, right? Or when you progress in your career. But you need to cobble together the skills of all of these different mentors.
Yeah.
The things that you respect about those people. So your mentor, was she more of like a project leader or more of an executive? What was she coaching you on?
Well, that's a great question. So she was an executive herself, vice president level. What I would say is that I think it was coaching on two things. I think she saw something in me that I didn't see, right, or didn't know about. And she was trying to pull that out of me. And that I think was much more specific to not the project management fundamentals, but that kind of looking at the horizon kind of viewpoint. Big projects, they have both, right? You need to laser focus on the little things that are happening right in front of you, but you also need to have what she called a horizontal view, right? There's something else out there. There's a big thing you're trying to achieve, and that always has to stay in your head. And then I think she also really focused on coaching me to, in her own words, elevate yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to take these roles, and doesn't matter what your title is, but your job is going to be the actual leader. You're going to have all these other leaders and sponsors and things that are the ones green lighting the decisions and those kind of things. But she was like, your job is really to be the leader from behind, right? You don't need the title. You just need to lead, because you're going to know what's the right thing to do. And when you don't know what to do, you're going to go ask. And so she helped me see that a lot. Confidence issue, maybe, I don't even know what it was, but she kept focusing on elevate yourself, and then you're going to have this kind of success in these projects. And I had seen from her that she had done many of these big projects almost single-handedly, right?
Awesome.
So then I was like, oh yeah, maybe one person can do all this.
Yeah, that's cool. No, honestly, sometimes just hearing leaders believe in you, like people don't understand. I run a company, and like sometimes I just like gloss over. I give people positive feedback, but sometimes I'm just like not even thinking about how much my words have power. And when you tell people that you believe that they can do something that they can't, it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it changed my whole trajectory in a very good way.
Do you feel like I had a gigantic project too, and I feel like I got a little spoiled from it because it was such a big, hard, challenging, fun project, right? Sometimes the smaller projects later just weren't as exciting. Do you ever you've obviously done other bigger projects too, but do you get spoiled by it?
Yes, 100%. I had some, gosh, I don't even know the right term, but I had a bit of a shock or letdown, if you will, coming off of that project, right? Because then it was like, oh, here's this other thing, and it was important and all that kind of stuff, right? But it was not elegant. It was not sexy. It was not big. It was really rather boring, right? It was implement this government regulation. Of course it's important, right? The company needs to do it. And it was big enough that it had some appeal to me. But that was before I became a management consultant. So that was like, okay, here's what's next. And they put you into something fine, like no complaints. But I definitely had a bit of this is not nearly as cool as this last one I just did for 18 months, right?
That happened. I think that's something that's really common on this show is I talk to folks, and we're talking about their Project Zero, and they're just like excited. They're just talking about this craziness that they went through. 100-hour weeks or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. Big weeks on the road, sleeping in hotels in Cleveland, all this kind of stuff. And it was just fun.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. I heard some like icebreaker question over the break here, and someone was like, okay, if you could have one experience where, you could hit a home run in the World Series or whatever, but then that's your only experience. You don't get anything else after that. What would it be? And I was like, I'm not going to pick anything. Like, I can't pick anything because I love the idea of building towards something and getting better. And so these projects are like that.
Yeah. Really. Yeah. And like you said, I've had plenty of the small ones after that. I think now what I seek out are those bigger ones.
Yeah.
For the reason of I like it, and also because they're hard and challenging, and it's not for everyone. I've seen people come into big mega programs, as I think a lot of companies like to call them.
Yeah.
They're just like, no, this is not for me. This is too much negotiating with executives, too much of the external kind of tangential stuff, which is the stuff that I love the most.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I do love consulting for that. I know management consulting gets such a bad rep now, but like the good ones that are out there, good companies that are out there, like, man, they're adding so much value. And it's so fun being management consultants. Like, we all seek these projects all the time. Like we'll go for a big home run and take it on the face if it happens, but we fix it quickly. Yeah, these big projects are fun.
Yeah, I like them.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the advice for some of the folks that are maybe earlier in their career. What's your number one skill that you want to see in a project manager?
What do I want to see in a project manager? I think number one, if I truly had to narrow it down to number one, you got to be comfortable in the gray. And that's hard for some project managers because they like to live in the triangle structure, which is I'm not dissing it. It's super important. But living in the gray is the reality of working with bigger companies, right? There's so much unknown. And if you're not comfortable with it, you're just going to struggle. So I would want to see that.
Yeah, I love that. That's a new one. People default to communication all the time, which is a fair one, very fair skill to focus on. But being comfortable in the gray, I like that. And it's interesting. I just went to PMI Global a couple months ago, and it's great. They're doing a whole revamp. So the iron triangle still exists, but we stopped talking about that rigidity, and we were really talking about what is the value that you can create in an organization, right? And so it's all about value stream, right?
Yes.
And so the gray is perfect there. Like it is very gray what value is. You have to ask questions and figure it out. And what someone might have thought was success at the beginning, when they see the progress, they're like, this doesn't really look like success. This isn't value creation.
And I think that comfortable in the gray doesn't mean you're never going to have that, what you just said, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get to some structure and some value and some purpose and towards an objective or an outcome or something like that. Oftentimes what I find is that you're living in the gray for the first 6 months, right? You just, it's unsure. You're trying to figure stuff out because you know what happens, right? They green light projects with hardly any info, hardly any data, hardly any requirements, all that stuff. They're just like, here's $15 million, go. And so, okay, what do you want me to do? I'll just do this thing. Okay, that's going to take 6 months just to figure out, and then come back to you and be like, hey, 15 million is enough or isn't enough, and here's why. So once you get past that, the gray starts to clear up a little, but you'll still need to be comfortable in it. But really, it's that upfront gray that can really knock people over.
No, that's perfect. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah. So everyone's talking about it, but we got to talk about it because it's happening whether we like it or not. How do you think AI is going to impact project management in the next, let's say, couple of years?
What I truly think is that it's going to be a boon for project management. Doesn't mean the boon won't come with some collateral damage, right? I think there will be some people that are impacted by the boon. There's a recent kind of famous phrase. I forget who does it. Maybe we can look it up, but because everyone's scared, right? Oh my God, AI, my job, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the phrase basically goes something like this, right? There's going to be people that use AI, and then there's going to be people that don't.
Yeah.
I think in the project management space, the people that don't are going to fall behind, right?
Cool.
And find themselves in a tough spot. Because as a project manager, what do you need to do? Solve problems, fix budgets, nail down a business requirement, whatever. There's always things to do. Really, as a good project or program manager, you're going to wear a bunch of hats. I probably wear in the course of a given month on a large implementation type project, I'm probably wearing 30 hats, right?
Yeah.
I'm a solution guy. I'm a design guy. I'm a finance guy. I'm a this and that and this and that, all those things, right? Because that's what's needed to move the thing forward. And so I don't necessarily stay in that space all the time, but I go there.
Yep.
That's the boon, right? Because now I can use different kinds of AI tools. I don't need the AI to think for me in terms of tell me where to go. No. I'm going to use the different AI tools to prompt them, whatever. Maybe we should start calling AI they.
Yeah.
I'm going to use those tools to help me frame up a journey or help me do a design conversation because I've collected a bunch of info. In fact, I used the Google Notebook tool recently, which, by the way, if no one's used it, shout out to Google Notebook, because you can upload huge volumes of data and video links and all these kinds of things. So I uploaded, 150 different artifacts, meeting notes, transcripts, requirement documents, just innumerable data points, complicated spreadsheets and things. And then you can start having a conversation with it and be like, okay, now I've collected this huge amount of data, right?
Yep.
And I can now say, hey, tell me the top 5 problems that are there with this project that I've uploaded all this data for. Boom, it just spits it out. So it's not taking away work, right? It's just helping me do certain things so much more quickly.
Yep.
And that to me is the boon, right? Because it takes a lot of the menial work and speeds it up or makes it more accurate or makes it better quality. So I can focus on that hard stuff of living in the gray and doing all the people things and figuring out with the executives how to move through these really complicated situations and have these complicated conversations and all those kind of things. Lets me do basically what's more important and valuable by minimizing my time on these other things. It's a boon. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I I see some chunks of project management tasks being
Mm-hmm.
eliminated, right? Because you don't need that anymore. If you need to retool a schedule or something, right? Because something happened,
Yep.
the product should just do that for you. You should be able to say, "Hey, look, here, this is
Absolutely.
happening. Go do this thing."
And spit
Yeah,
out, like, maybe at some point someone will develop an AI type project management tool, like a Microsoft project
yeah,
derivative or something, right? Where, like what you just said, I can go in and say, hey, these 5 things just happened. I think these 5 milestones are now going to be moving. Tell me what that means. Give me some different data around how that impacts the project and moves things around and crashes my schedule or whatever, which as today I can do that. It's a lot of work,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
I gotta line item every little thing and then see what happens when I move it and then move it back. And that's all good. No complaints, right? But I
yeah,
think there will be tools that can
yeah.
do that for you in 10 seconds, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a product called Movila right now, and I was talking with their CEO, and they've been doing AI since pre-ChatGPT in the project management space, and so they've always been, like, thinking about how this could move, and then now, within the past 3
I'm gonna have
years,
to
it's
look
just,
at
like,
that.
accelerated. Really interesting. They have these, like,
Hmm.
complex risk scores and all that stuff and reassignments. And their idea is that for most projects, like the smaller projects, you really don't even need a project manager. You just need someone that has the responsibility of moving things along,
Right,
doing the
right.
human stuff, and then the system just does their own thing. And then ClickUp too, like same thing. Like they've got AI integrated into the product. And it's just really interesting to see how the different players are introducing AI. And some of it's baked in, and some of it you can put different prompts and levers and stuff, pull everything. So
Hmm.
it's fun. It's fun to see what's
It's
happening.
fun. I agree.
Yeah.
I like it.
What's the coolest way you've seen AI used? It doesn't have to be like, doesn't have to be on a client, but like maybe way someone on LinkedIn you saw they were using AI.
I just remembered this one. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had on the project I'm working on, it was a little bit removed from this particular part of the project, very aware of it. The very operational focused component of the project, right? And so they're
Mhm.
trying to figure out how do I potentially enhance or make more efficient this very kind of manual operational process that today has lots of spreadsheets and just all that
Sure.
kind of legacy stuff from 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of it is then you have to interpret the data, right? And that's
Yeah.
sometimes where AI can either be great or be terrible. But when you can make it great, that's what these guys did, right? So they basically took, I want to say, something equivalent to a 4-day process where they have to step through all these things. They have to
Mhm.
check for these different codes, all these kinds of validations. Again, a 4-day hyper
Sure.
manual process. And they just sat down, all of them, for a week, and they were like, here's what we do, and here's all these codes and numbers, blah, blah, blah. They tried to decompose the whole manual process. And then they said, hey, how can I have something like a Copilot or whatever get in there and do this for me if I feed it the right data? And they figured it out. It took them about, I want to say 2 months. They prototyped it many times. And then they got comfortable enough to where they could use it in sort of the production true environment. Huge, right? A
Oh my God.
4-day, 2-person
Unreal.
process now is a 1-hour process.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I heard there's another project that's going on right now at a New England hospital, big hospital system.
Mm.
It's in the oncology section of the hospitals, and they've been spending like 2 years doing this. And
Mhm.
the reason for it is from a legal perspective, it's really hard to get doctors are still on the hook. If AI screws up, they're still on the hook. That's their
Absolutely.
license.
Yep.
So that's tricky. And that's like a whole different conversation. But they were taking maybe something like, I don't know, 70 to 100 pages worth of
Okay.
PDFs. And
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
doctors, oncologists, actually, they're one of the few doctors that like actually read through like all the stuff beforehand because
Right.
all the biomarkers are really important. How you're responding, all those things are really,
Mhm.
and so
Yep.
some oncologists spend almost like up to 2 hours, somewhere between 30 and two
Dang.
hours prepping for a single meeting with a client, right?
Oh,
With
wow.
with a patient. And they worked on this AI product within the hospital, their internal teams, they built this product where they could analyze all that stuff, give the highlights, the summaries, and links to every single document, where it was in the document,
Wow.
all the biomarkers and everything. And then ambient listening, you pull all that during the
Right.
thing, and then it's all cross-referenced. And the doctor
Mhm.
goes from a 2-hour prep to maybe a 5-minute prep. And then on the back end, same
Wow.
thing. This ambient listening is just saving so much time. So just
Oh,
thinking
yeah. That's
about
some good
that
stuff.
is huge. And every
Mhm.
time I hear that, I think about, okay, how could I take that example and apply it to project management or apply it to some other project
Yeah.
challenge that my client's dealing with? Very
Yeah,
fun.
AI really right now, it's all about data, right? So if you can compartmentalize pieces of project management into data,
Yep.
that's where the tool can really help you. And that's where I'm wondering if this tool you mentioned, Movelo or something, if I think about project management as like chunks of data and how can it help me twist and turn and look at different scenarios and different potential outcomes if, one thing goes a different direction, right?
Yep.
How can I visualize that again without having to spend 3 hours manually manipulating something, right? Yeah, it's amazing. And that's just a small sliver of, I've heard the examples, right? Again, people get scared and I get it, but I keep trying to help people or share whatever my optimism perhaps, right? Which is
Yeah.
don't be scared. Go
Yeah.
back in history. The cotton gin's a great example, right? People
Yep.
never even imagined that it could be, oh my God, you're going to take away all my jobs and I'm not going to be doing. Yeah, that did happen. Those jobs went away. Guess what? Those jobs were terrible. And
That's
so
right.
now you have this new industry and this new thing. And so societies kind of evolve and manage those kinds of things, right? And to me, AI is just another one of those. It's going to
Yeah.
improve the speed of delivery on so many different things or the speed of outcomes, like with these doctors you described.
Yeah.
And yes, some people will lose their jobs from that, but they'll get other jobs will be created.
Yeah.
It's the constant ebb and flow.
Yep.
Now we're going to have jobs policing AI or
Yeah.
validating AI tools or whatever those kinds of things
That's
are,
right.
right?
Yep. That's right. Yeah. I think the folks that have always succeeded in the world are going to continue to succeed. It's just about
Mhm.
figuring out what skills you need to live in
That is
that
perfectly
second
said, my
half.
friend.
Yeah.
Said. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right, Vidura. I could talk to you all day about this stuff, but
Same.
I think it's a good place to wrap here. How do people get in contact with you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know if we'll post stuff about that, but yes, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Vidura Stich, Stich. And I work with Freed Associates. You can find me there as well. But yeah, LinkedIn's, I would say, the best place to come say hello.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Vidura. It was very fun to chat today. Thanks for sharing your stories and all your advice. And thanks to all of you that tuned into Project Zero this week. And be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts. And we will catch you next time for another great project leader story. Thanks again, Vidura.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.